agent. Okay, I hope you all had some fun learning about the different personality traits about yourself. And remember that these styles will constantly change depending on what your image goals are, whether you would like to be taken more seriously or be more approachable. You can achieve any look you want by knowing what to wear and that how they convey the message through your image. Once you discover your top 3 characteristics, then go and create your own Pinterest mood board by typing in those results, and you will find so many different styles available at your fingertips. Okay, I would like to summarize last week's characteristic style test by quickly going through the different characters, and Amanda is going to help us opening it up and touch upon a very important topic.
Hi guys, can everyone see the slides that I'm presenting right now? If you can, just give it a thumbs up. Everything looks good? Okay, perfect. So I want to kick it off before we jump into like the different character and actors that fit into those character types. I want to touch base on the importance of actually knowing your character and why you should kind of keep it in mind. So, but with doing this, I'm actually going to take a deep dive into this movie, The Devil Wears Prada, and I think that this is a great example because the 3 main actresses that were in this movie, Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, and Emily Blunt, they all played to their character type. So, for example, Meryl Streep is that dramatic, traditional character. She's tough, unapproachable at times. She's strong. She commands attention when she walks into the room. And so most of the roles that you'll see her playing, especially, and which is like exemplified in this movie as well, she fits into that character type. Whereas Anne Hathaway is more sweet and natural. She's approachable, bubbly. She's feminine. She has an infectious smile. You just want to be her friend. And that's the character that she plays in The Devil Wears Prada. And lastly, Emily Blunt. She's alluring. She's dramatic. In this movie, she's mischievous, seductive, flirtatious, and she kind of almost has ulterior motives. And so I think this is a great example because all 3 of these actresses fit perfectly into this character type that they were cast into. And so that's why it's so important to understand what character best fits you so that you can start building a foundation and understanding what roles you can go after. Of course, having a character doesn't limit you to just that one. It doesn't mean that you can only go for like that one type, dramatic or sweet or alluring. You can go out for different things, but what we're trying to say is that it's good to have that foundation. Like, for example, Anne Hathaway, most of her roles, like in The Devil Wears Prada or Princess Diaries, she is that sweet and natural character. There are other roles that she's been in, like in Les Mis, where she plays a little bit more of a different type of character, like more of a dramatic character. But she already has that foundation of being that sweet and natural place. And if you're just starting out, I think this is a really good place to start finding roles that really will fit into who you are. So moving on, we're going to go into more detail about the different types of characters and what actors fall into those.
Okay, so the next one is going to be sweet romantic type. Okay, this style is someone who is gentle, approachable, and enjoys dressing up. Nothing is too much trouble or takes too much time to get ready. The perfect prince or princess is delicate, youthful, and carries the image of innocence, warmth, and compassion. A sweet female feels most feminine when she's wearing a flowy dress, ruffles, or flowers prints. Suitable roles are the romantic, nice, approachable, supportive parent and friend companion type. Some of our favorite celebrities, Gemma Chan, Anne Hathaway, Reese Witherspoon, Taylor Swift, and Henry Golding. Okay, next is going to be our creative type. This type is individuality in their own style. Whimsical, bold, and someone who loves to experiment new style and trendy cuts to be the beat of their own swag. Can pull off any artsy and put unexpected items together and carry it off to perfection. Some of the suitable roles are artist, whimsical, same-sex, quirky, edgy, rebel, mysterious, and unpredictable. Our favorite celebrities, Lady Gaga, Awkwafina, Johnny Depp, Jude Law, Ken Jeong, and Gwen Stefani. Okay, next is going to be our elegant roles. Hope you guys agree with me on this one. Modern, sophisticated, high-end, and classy look in harmony with all things polished to perfection and understated. Quality rather than quantity materials, such as vintage, hard-to-find, must-have items. Their cultivated, conservative, employee styles are always noticed and admired with an image of high social standing. Suitable roles: wealthy, snobby, pretentious, socialite, and high rollers. Our celebrities: George Clooney, Bing Bing, Chow Yun Fat, Michelle Yeoh, Angelina Jolie, and Nicole Kidman. Okay, moving on to our next. It's going to be our traditional and classics. Now, classics, simple and timeless look of neutral colors, traditionals and tailor cuts in clothing. This traditional classic style is always appropriately dressed and carries the image of someone who is very dependable and practical. Some of the suitable roles are business, detective, intellectual, doctors, lawyers, scientists, and parents. Celebrities: Sandra Oh, Russell Wong, Maggie Q, Lucy Liu, Michelle Yeoh, and Jet Li.
Next is going to be dramatic. Dramatic is going to be intimidating, unapproachable, fierce. Someone who is in an authoritative position. They have strong, bold, dramatic, and strong sense of style. Someone who is exciting and independent and has a really commanding presence. The suitable roles are going to be sergeant, CEO, politician, as well as innovative leaders. Some celebrity examples are going to be Denzel Washington, Meryl Streep, and Anna Wintour. And while we're on the topic of Meryl Streep, I wanted to point out that in the blog post that we had last week, we posted these slides and we shared an article about how Meryl Streep actually interviewed and sat down with Anna Wintour when she was researching for her character in Devil Wears Prada, because that's essentially who she was playing, very much of an Anna Wintour type character. And so it's just a good article to read to kind of understand why it's so important to know your personal character and how you can apply that into a role that you're trying to play. And next is going to be alluring. Alluring is going to be really good looking, seductive, mischievous, and charming personality. Someone who is comfortable showing off their body regardless of the occasion. Liberated and flirtatious, and carries an image of seductive, daring, and danger. Suitable roles for this is going to be attractive, popular, mean, badass, and conniving. Celebrities are going to be Zhang Ziyi, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Sharon Stone, and Jennifer Lopez. Like we said before, you don't have to just fall into one category, and so I wanted to point that out here because Zhang Ziyi, in a lot of her American movies, she is this alluring character, but in some of her Chinese films, she probably plays a different type of character, so you can fit into different types of character traits. Just make sure you find like one that's your base. You have your top 3 that you can work together with, and that goes for Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt as well, because they fall very well into alluring and dramatic, so they can fit into both characters and they can play those two constantly and switching off between the two of them. And last is going to be natural or sporty. This is going to be natural, effortless, comfortable, laid-back styles. They enjoy being outdoors, active, hiking, and yoga. They feel most at home in their relaxed basic essentials and have simple casual wear wardrobe. They're relaxed, and they carry an image of being approachable with an ease and open mind. The roles are going to be sporty, outdoorsy, farmer, wilderness, all-American, journalist, and fighter. And the celebrities are going to be Maggie Q, Jennifer Aniston, Jessica Alba, Julia Roberts, John Cho, and Mandy Moore. And I think that is the end of our different character types. And I'm going to hand it back over to Kim, and she's going to give us a little in-depth blip about monologues.
Yeah. So now that you guys have a better understanding of the different type of character traits and so many different, personality and style that you can already start going out for, then we do want to be able to share with you some monologues. I know April made a great point in last week's sessions about taking the time to continue on practicing. Therefore, we want to encourage you to select a monologue that best fits your character and put yourself on tape. Of course, if acting is something that you're looking to be more serious, then right now is the perfect timing to do so, okay? We would also like to emphasize a great technique that was shared. Find sides for something that has already been aired, but you haven't seen yet. Practice the sides and set a time for your audition. Example, you select your sides on Tuesday and your audition is on Thursday. So now once your audition time in this example is on Thursday comes around, record yourself performing that sides only one time, okay? Review your video to see how you did, and then watch the episode of that scene to see how the actor who booked the job performed it. Now, take notes on the different choices that were made and how you can approach different scenes in the future. And most importantly, have fun. Have fun, network with one of our existing actors from the agency and start recording yourself on Zoom, okay? I'm going to have Amanda to quickly just touch upon some of the monologues that she's going to be sharing.
We're going to be sending out a link. I'll send it out in my recap email that I'm going to send tomorrow. I'm going to send a link of pre-selected monologues that are all less than 2 minutes each. And it's a great tool that you guys can go through and pick a monologue that fits into your character. When you click on the video, it's going to be a playlist on the right-hand side. It's going to be a YouTube link. And that playlist is going to have all different types of monologues that we would recommend that you try to perform yourself. I'm also going to be sending you guys a video detailing how to select the correct monologue, because sometimes we're overwhelmed by options. We don't know what the best one is to pick. So I'm going to send you a video. You can watch it so you can understand how you can pick a monologue that will fit you and your character type the best. And make sure that you dress according to that character, dress your best, stand in front of a blank wall with good lighting and good audio, record yourself, and review it to see how you did it a little bit differently than perhaps the person who booked the job did it. And now I'm going to bring it back to Kim, and she's going to talk about important points with communicating with your agent.
Yes. So while you guys are having fun with these monologues and stuff, the importance of communicating with us, okay? So I want you guys to know that agents are here to help you move your career forward, and we can't do this without you. And it's in the talent's best interest to reach out to us when you're not seeing that results that you're looking for. We do not know all of your specific skill sets and interests, so you need to what projects you want to go out for, and what skill sets do you possess that you can offer for those projects. Now, let's say if you come across a project that fits your criteria, immediately forward us the breakdowns and email us and let us know that, hey, I would be a very good fit for this project. And be sure to also include the project details with the project breakdown below the email forwarding, and then let us know so that we can have something to reference on. Now, it's important on that email, that project breakdown, you want to be able to communicate effectively by saying, hey, please submit me for this boxing character because I have been boxing for 10 years and have won multiple championships, rather than saying, I want to be submitted for this boxing role. You know, elaborate on your skill sets and other experience or resume when we use these keywords, because you have to understand these keywords, these special skills that you have is how we identify your strength to better pitch you for our projects, okay? Now, I also do want to share with you situations when it is good to reach out to us. When you feel like you are not going out for projects that play to your strength, then I want you to speak up. You know, if you excel at comedy, let's say, and that all of the auditions that you've been going out for are just more dramatic, then let us know. You know, when you feel like you're not going out on enough auditions, in that case, I want you to call me, email us directly so we can, hear about your concerns. But before you do that, I do want you to ask yourself some of these questions as well. Do you have open availability to attend these auditions? Have you been canceling or declining some of these auditions that we've been getting you? Are you responding to your availability text when we text you within 5 to 10 minutes? Are your photos up to date? Is your resume and skill section updated? And most importantly, what is that one thing that you excel in that the agency should focus on submitting you for? For an example, if you are a professional painter, so the agency should be sending you out on every single project that's looking for a painter. Because if we do not know about this about you, then it would be impossible for us to get you out on that audition. So it's a two-way street, and we need you to be very communicative about these skill sets with us. Okay, Amanda's going to quickly touch upon the self-submissions.
Yeah, so for people who like being hands-on with self-submitting for their own projects, I just want to touch base on some things that we want you to keep in mind. Please let the agency know as soon as you're called in for audition, before you even confirm the audition. Let us know that you got picked for this project so we can help review some things that you might have overlooked. When we submit you guys for projects, we're always submitting you for things that have very favorable like usage terms and favorable pay. And so those are the only ones that we're going to send you out on. And you might kind of overlook these things. So we will help review conflicts, usage, and terms of the project, because sometimes they might not be the best. What we do is we kind of see what the market value is of certain types of usage. Like, for example, if it's broadcast or if it's just going to be on social media, we understand what the base of that usage is supposed to look like in terms of compensation and what you are entitled to. And that's how we can protect you, by making sure that they are not taking advantage of paying you less, but using it to the utmost extent. Being aware of in perpetuity usage is really, really important as well. If you don't know, in perpetuity basically just means that they can use the media forever. And if the terms are going to be, or if the terms are perpetuity, but the usage is like on social media or broadcast, and that means it can be on that platform forever, and they only have to pay you one time. Usually the usage is going to be for a set amount of time. Usually it's 1 year or 2 years. And after that time is up, then it will renew and you get another buyout fee essentially. And that's really important because we can help with following up on renewals for you and making sure that the amount that they want to pay you for those renewals is up to standard. And last is going to be the exclusivity clause. This is also really important because sometimes these like smaller projects, they have really broad exclusivity, which is basically just like any electronic brand is going to be exclusive. And that means if you book this job and you do it and they have that exclusivity clause, then you can no longer go out for Apple, Microsoft, Sony, all these big companies. You can't do their commercials anymore for like, depending on how long the terms were. So if they're 5 years, then you're out of luck for 5 years. So it's really, really important that when you do self-submit, just to let us know so we can help you read through the terms and make sure that what you are going out for is in your best interest. Next is going to be when you are self-submitting, sometimes the projects that you're going out for are the same projects that we're working on. And maybe you got selected for a role that's a supporting role or a background role. If you let us know, we can definitely take a look at the project and see if there's actually a principal role that is looking for a specific skill set that you maybe have. And we can pitch you to the casting director to get you in for that principal role to hopefully get you a better booking out of that same project. And lastly, if we know that you're going out for an audition that day, we can help line you up with other auditions so that if you're a little bit further from the LA area, we want to maximize your time. So if you are self-submitting and you've got an audition, let us know so that we can line you up with multiple auditions that day and you can kill multiple birds with one stone. And next, Kim is going to touch base on some basic practices in regards to communication.
So just so you guys know that our team does more than just submitting, clicking talent electronically behind a computer. We are super aggressive at pitching for talents that fit the exact specs, where we can get you seen last minute or on the same day auditions. So we want to be sure that you have that audition back ready to go at all times, okay? So that you can be prepared for a full day of auditions. You want to make sure that you text us back as soon as we ask for your availability. Because doing on the same day audition, we are probably pitching you or we're trying to get you to come to basically be seen as additional options. On the day of casting, things change. They have more open availability. And if you have that specific skill sets, your profile's ready, we know that you've been checking in, we know that you're available, then I can tell you that you most likely will be pitched to go in for that. So it is time sensitive. If we text you at 10 o'clock and you get back at 2, then most likely that audition availability is probably going to be over, right? Okay, so we only want to pitch you. We are doing this because auditions are going on and we are trying to get you in. But we will only pitch you for the audition if you are available. Also, if you confirm that you are available and then later on saying that you are not, then that will severely decrease your chances of getting pitched in the future. Communication is key, guys. So we encourage you to reach out to us via text, email, and then call us if you are not getting any results. This is a partnership, guys. So remember that we encourage you to take the initiative with your career. Share resources. Let us know about your recent bookings, training, or new marketing materials. Talents that check in with the agency the most often and deliver on requested materials tend to have higher audition rates. And it's important, text us during business hours, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. We have a team of full-time staff. So we're only working during the business hours. So if you're texting us like on the weekends or after hours, then most likely it will be overlooked. So make sure you text us during those business hours. If you are going to be away for more than 2 days or so, make sure you let us know so we can book you out. And make sure you also text us back as soon as when you get back. just because you text, you always want to make sure that there is, someone's replying to acknowledge the receipt of the email, or maybe with the text. Got it, noted, right? Just because you text doesn't mean that you assuming that we already received it. So you want to make sure that there's always an acknowledgement of a receipt. Not only that that's good business etiquette, but that would allow us and you to know that, okay, we know that your profile is now booked in and you're ready for auditions. So now I'm going to have Amanda to take it over and introduce us to our special guest.
Yeah, so I'm going to introduce you guys to Paul. I just want to make sure, Paul, are you here? Let's see. I think he might be coming on closer to 3:30. Maybe I'll give it like 7 minutes, but I'll introduce him in the time being so you guys know who it is. Paul Kuo, he is an actor, musician, entrepreneur. He was one of the supporting lead actors of the blockbuster film franchise God's Not Dead and God's Not Dead 2. Paul has appeared in various series such as Fresh Off the Boat, Scrubs, and the remake of Knight Rider. As a recording artist, he released his solo vocal album Time in 2016 and has performed with critically acclaimed cellist Yo-Yo Ma and international pop singer Wei Wei. Paul was born in Hong Kong and grew up in the suburbs of Los Angeles. He has a bachelor's of music in piano with double minors in theater and musical theater, as well as a master of music in music composition from USC. So I think he'll be jumping on soon. But I guess in the meantime, if anybody has any questions with everything that we just covered, you guys feel free to jump in on questions.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the perpetuity clause and maybe exclusivity clause. What could you guys negotiate those things for us? Let's say there's a clause for use in perpetuity. You don't want that. I mean, how flexible are the people it seems like that's such a bad deal to get into. Is that something that in your experience we could maybe do everything else but negotiate that clause away type thing? Or
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We will definitely, ask them to lift it, and kind of get into certain favorable terms. Sometimes it's not negotiable, sometimes it is. So of course, those are going to be, information that we will obviously share with them and share with them some market value and some comparison so that they can understand, are these just, terms that someone written up or they've gotten and they, that they didn't know that it was important, or it can be a deal breaker, then of course those are going to be the terms that we will negotiate on your behalf. Okay. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But those are going to be, obviously the terms that you don't know that you should be staying away from. A lot of the newer actors, they, those are what I call like unfavorable terms, and everything is negotiable. Yes. And most important, you just got to be able to know what your value of that and what the market value is currently going for right now, especially when commercial now, 80% of the projects are all non-union now. So we definitely need to be mindful in how to get into some of those deals and not lock you out for other opportunities that may arise. Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Anybody?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I just saw something on social media. So if we created, for example, like a new TikTok account or something, should we be placing our handles on our casting profiles?
Wait, one more time, I'm sorry. Did you expose your social media handles?
Oh yeah, so for example, like if we created like a new social media account, should we be writing our social media handles on our casting profiles?
Yes, absolutely. That's going to be our main important topic that we are going to cover next week. Social media is everything now. So that's kind of where we were sharing that, casting, they're always asking for social media handles now. So if you say that you are a fashion stylist or you are a fitness instructor, I'm going to rest assured that when they click on that social media, everything should be a reflection of what we are listing as your skill sets, right? So that's kind of where it needs to be very consistent of your image, and they will go so that they can kind of really see what you look like. Because social media, there's a lot of photos that is not professional photos. So that will give them a really, better sense of your overall style and your personal image and brand on your social media. Social media will be, it is everything. And that's kind of sometimes will be a deal breaker of how you look or how you present yourself on social media. Absolutely. Hello? Hello?
Yep, I'm still
Okay,
here.
got it. So did that answer your question, Farah?
Yeah, so should we just place it like on our actors access bio, like right in the bio?
You're talking about in the actor's access bio. Yeah, sure, why not? Definitely. If you can put it in there, definitely put it in there. I know that for social for LA casting, we actually put it on your permanent submission notes because that's like the number one thing
Okay.
that casting for. Absolutely, we do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there
I
any
have a
other
question. I have a question. Abby?
Who's that? Oh, hi, Abby.
Yeah. Hi. So for self-submissions, so you said sometimes we might duplicate the roles that we submit for. Will that automatically disqualify us if we are duplicating submissions, or how does that work? So that doesn't happen. If you're submitting and I'm self-submitting and
Yeah.
Did you hear
great
that?
question. Yeah, so that basically kind of goes down into the unfavorable terms, right? You know, most of the time when there's roles or projects that is being released to people that are self-submitting, it's probably because they didn't get a really good pool of submissions through their agency. So that's why they release some of these roles through self-submissions. So most of the times the roles that are being released for self-submissions, those are more the supporting or the actual roles. So I mean, if you haven't gotten called in for that yet, then I think 2 of the chances is always better than none. Do you know what I mean? So in terms, you know, that's why it is important that if you happen to get called in through your own self-submission, to let us know about it, because there might be other roles that's probably even more suitable for you that was not released through self-submissions. Does that make sense?
So I mean, so like the casting director, when they see that I submitted myself for a role and that, you know, my agent submitted myself for a role, would they be like, okay, why is this a duplicate? And then they would just like disregard the submission is my question, or does that make sense?
Well, I mean, most definitely,
Okay.
it's very possible. Because I know that, you know, I mean, of course, casting directors, if they know that, okay, if you're someone that's constantly or also doing a lot of self-submissions and that you're booking a lot of the background roles, or in that you don't have an agency, then you might already been, you know, exposed to so many unfavorable terms that you don't know about as well. You know, so if this project is very sensitive in terms of not having any talents that has been, you know, working with any of their competitor brands, then those are going to be the things where they want to basically stay away from. They only want to work with talents that's actually agency represented, so that, you know, it's been controlled and that they have not already been exposed to other brands because they didn't have an agent to kind of keep track of their
Okay,
usage.
so would you suggest that if there is a role that I'm interested in, I should just forward that to you? Is that the best practice versus submitting myself for a role?
Correct. I would most definitely do that. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Because most likely, and then make sure you always provide us with a quick pitch or blurb, so that we can make sure that you are definitely seen for it. You know.
Okay.
And most, yeah, it's always a good chance that we will be able to get you in. Okay, so I think Paul is here.
Okay. Thank you.
Paul is here. Hi, Paul. Can you guys?
Hello.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, so we went ahead and introduced you already, so I think everyone got your intro. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So if you want, you can go ahead and just kick it off with what you want to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm an actor, of course, and I've done a few things here and there. Yeah, I think we were talking about, I mean, Amanda and Kim, we were talking about, since I wasn't here earlier, so, but I think you were talking about how the experience, of putting on, doing self-tapes, and also an agency topic, right? Correct? So,
Right.
you know, for me, like, I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience. You know, I do think, you know, I've had a few agents in my past, and you know, it is very important. I think, you know, one of the, actually, in fact, today, it was just today, I kept, you know, kept my agents updated with all the stuff that I've been doing during even this quarantine period. And, you know, I've had a lot of different experiences in the past, some positive, some negative experiences, but overall, you know, the most important thing that I do think as an actor that we can do is to be in touch. You know, you can't expect your agent to just, one of the things that I tell a lot of my students, especially because I do a lot of teaching, is that you can't expect to just sign up for an agent and then everything's going to be great. You know, it doesn't work like that. You have to do your part. You have to, you know, put in your effort, because, you know, agents want to see you be you know, be on top of things. One of the things that I always tell my my student, like, and also it's one of the things that I do. A lot of times my agents are like, "Oh my gosh, you reply so quickly." The timeliness of things is so important because, you know, I've gotten calls from my agents in the past where I literally had 1 hour to, from the time they called me to get to the actual audition, the callback, whatever it is, you know. And so if you're not on top of answering your emails, and it's such a pet peeve of mine, like when I talk to people and like, oh yeah, you know, they take forever to answer your email or forever to reply, but like this industry doesn't work like that. This industry is always last minute. In fact, it's the last minute jobs that are the ones that, you know, you're almost guaranteed to book. I once woke up on Easter Sunday morning and my agent calls me and go, oh my gosh, there's this shoot that they need an Asian guy, and the guy that they originally hired had a like, I think his father passed away last minute. And so the agent was working really closely with the production because it was one of their well, it was my agent, one of my previous agent, like, was working with the production, was going like, oh my gosh, they need someone right now, because it was one of his other clients. And so, and production couldn't find anyone because it was Easter morning. Nobody was answering the phone. I answered like, oh, okay, I can go. In fact, it was funny because I was supposed to have a refrigerator delivered that morning to my house, but I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna drop everything and take this job and go. So production hired me like right on the spot. Within like 30 minutes, I was out the door, about to, you know, heading out to the shoots. So, you know, it's so important to be always answering. Like, I have all my agents and anyone ever I've worked with, you know, always on my VIP list on my phone, so that I get, you know, a special thing, whatever it is, so that I know this is from my agent. I'm always going to look at it, and always the first one to reply. I'm never waiting like, you know, oh, well, I'll look at it in 2 hours. No, you drop, if this is what you want to do, you have to drop everything and go, I'm on top of this. I'm going to look at this and make sure I answer everything in a timely manner, so that your agent knows that you are on top of it, that you are ready to go. Because production is like that. Production is super fast. Nobody waits around in this industry. And if you're waiting around, kind of leisurely going at your own pace to do this, you're not really going to get anywhere. You know, the jobs are booked on the spot, on the fly, half the time. I mean, yeah, there are the jobs that, you know, it takes forever to get back to you, and, you know, they'll wait for you for a little bit. But, you know, unless if you're an A-list actor, they're not really going to wait around for your reply. You have to be on top of things. So, you know, communication is always one of those big things I tell all my students. Especially I have young ones, so I have to tell the parents, like, you need to be on top of it. If you can't answer these phone calls, if you can't get to your auditions quickly, and if you don't have reliable transportation, then forget it. This is not the right place for you to be in. So you want to make sure you're always answering your phone. That phone, like, my phone's always next to me. It never leaves my hand for more than a few minutes at a time, because I want to make sure I get those jobs. I want to make sure I get the last minute phone calls, because those are the, you know,
those are the booking ones.
Yeah, those are the bookings. Those are the ones that, and those are the best ones, where you don't even have to go in audition, because they, you know, production's like, I need someone, and your agent comes and calls you, and if you're not there to answer within 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, you're gonna lose out. And it's not just with agent, like, because I do a lot of voiceover work too. I do a lot of ADR work. It's the same thing. These casting directors call last minute all the time, and because somebody got sick, somebody couldn't show up, something happened, And you have to be on top of it. And even if it isn't like that, even if it is something where they're looking for people and the shoot is in a day or two, they go down a whole list of things. They're not waiting around for you to call back in like 3 hours, 4 hours, because that 1, 2, 3, 4 hours that you're waiting, that's the end. You know, they may have found someone else already, and it happens so many times. And so you have to be on top of answering emails, answering text messages, especially, you know, Kim's, you know, fantastic and wonderful, works really hard for all of you. But if you don't answer it, you're wasting her work. And I tell all my students that, like, you're wasting your agent's time. If you're not going to be on top of it, if you're not going to be on call, if you're not going to be ready for things, then you're wasting their time. And then you may stay on their roster, but they're not going to put an effort in you. You know, they're going to move down the list to the next person who is answering the phone calls, who is answering their emails. Like, my agent always tells me, "Oh my gosh, you're always the first one to reply. You're always right." Because I'm like, yeah. I have production companies that tell me the same thing. It's like, "Oh my gosh, you replied." Like, I barely just sent it out, and 2 minutes later they get a reply from me because I'm on top of things. And partially it's because if I don't reply right now, you know, that's kind of my personality. If I don't reply right away, I end up forgetting things and you lose things. And that's the other part of it too. If you don't stay on top of it, it's so easy to fall behind. And, you know, with all of these additions that are coming last minute, all these different things are coming at you at all of these different angles. So, you know, my recommendation is just go as quickly as you can. You got to set yourself up with a system on your own that allows you to reply quickly and, you know, be able to respond quickly. You may not be able to pick up the phone, that's okay, but like, you should have no excuse of not being able to take a 1-minute break and reply to your agent via email or text saying, "Got it, I got this addition, I'm going to be there tomorrow," or whenever it is. You know, even if it is an addition that's, you know, if you get one today at 2 o'clock and the addition's tomorrow, yeah, you can think, well, I could answer it at the end of the day, but, you know, it makes your agent's job so much harder when they have to wait 3, 4, 5 hours for your reply, because they're sitting there wondering, did they get it? Did they get it? Are they going to go? Because it's also their reputation. They don't want to have all of these actors on their roster that they submit to casting, and then half of them last minute cancels or, you know, not show up. Like, they have a reputation to, you know, to uphold too. And their reputation is also why you signed up with them. So if you didn't, you know, if you signed up with Kim, you know, you all signed up with Kim here. So, you know, make sure you help her build her reputation as an agency that has quick replies, that are on top of things. Because if she succeeds that way, then you all succeed. So help your agent help you. Yeah, that's
oh
the
my gosh,
main
thank
thing
you
that
so much, Paul. That is such an amazing like advice, and you really touch upon like everything, because that is just like so true. You know, we're always looking to like really are so eager to get everybody out, and you have to just kind of reply. And like, if you know you cannot, then just be honest. Hey guys, today is really bad. Is there any way that I can go tomorrow? Because I noticed that they are auditioning tomorrow as well. I can be available anytime before 2 p.m. So be communicative and let us know. Don't try. It's either you can or you cannot, and just get back to us so we can fill that spot with somebody else. And most likely, if they chose you and you're not available, most likely if they're going for another day, we possibly can get you to be rescheduled on the other day. But if you don't communicate that with us, then we're not going to be able to know how we can reschedule, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, always communicate. And that's the other thing that you actually just brought that up. Like, read those emails too.
Yeah.
You know, read them very carefully and make sure you have the right dates, right times, and yeah, ask for time frames, you know, if you need to. But the main thing is to be on top of it. You don't want to wait 3 hours later and then tell your agent, "Well, I'm not sure about the time frame. Can you ask about the time frame?" Like, that's already a 3-hour delay. You know, productions are all super busy too at the same time. So be on top of it. Read it right away. Take that 1 minute off from whatever you're doing. Read that email. Go through it and then give a very clear answer. Yes, I can. No, I can't. Or yes, or like, "Oh, can you ask for this time frame? You know, if I can make these adjustments." Like, I'm always, you know, there are times that I have things that I'm like, well, that time is not ideal. Is it possible to ask for a time frame? I would communicate that with my agent definitely. And then, you know, sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no. It's perfectly fine, and we all make adjustments. But that's the whole point of it. But if you're not on top of communication, then your agent can't help you.
That's awesome. So, Paul, what would you say would be the number one advice as an Asian American actor that you can share with us all?
So that's such a loaded question.
I know, but like summarizing, because I know you've been in the scene for so long. And by the way, we used to work with Paul. We represented Paul when we first started our commercial division like 5 years ago in Fountain Valley. So we've also learned a lot by representing LA talent, and also communication is like definitely key. I know that I've learned a lot, you know. But with your experience, Paul, like what were some things that you feel like, just in a nutshell?
Well, my experience, a couple of things is that, no, the main thing I think is, like any actor, like, don't think of being Asian is a crutch or anything. It definitely isn't. I mean, there are always benefits and negatives, positives and negative being any ethnicity. But like, I have friends who are Caucasian, like, but they're having the hardest time finding an agent and getting anything because there's so many more of them that are competing in their pool. So never use your ethnicity as a crutch, saying like, oh, well, it's because I'm Asian, that's why I'm not going out. No, it's just go and find different ways, find another alternative, you know, find your niche, find the things that you're good at. For me, it's because I speak Mandarin and Cantonese, and I do a lot of voiceovers, and I can do all these different language skills, so it gets me working a lot. But whatever skills you have, you know, I know definitely Asian friends that are martial artists, and they use those skills, or whatever, any skills that you have. Think about all of your marketable skills and really create all the marketing tools that you have. You know, you have to create your marketing tools. You have to have those demos ready. You have to have, you know, you need to keep training, get yourself trained in all the different skills aside from acting. You know, if you have, you know, singing talents, or if you have horseback riding talents, or whatever, anything that you have, you want to develop as many marketable skills as you possibly can and market. You know, it's not a pretty face contest. That's not acting. Acting is a skills market. You know, casting's always asking, I need this person who can do this. I need that person who can also do that. I need a 5-year-old Asian boy. Like I think I got one recently. Like it was like 12-year-old. I think they wanted a teenage boy who can speak Mandarin. You know, and so you want to look for all the different skills that you have and make sure you're ready to submit. You know, if you have these language skills, then make sure they're fluent, make sure, you know, you brush up on them, make sure you can speak them without an accent. And then, you know, if you do different accents or anything like that, you know, you really never know what casting is asking. And we're actually living, I think we are living in one of the best time for Asian actors to be in the US and working. Like, this is really one of the, but when I started, that was when Lost and Heroes first came out, and that's like, oh, the first time Asian American men were actually on screen. And so suddenly every agency in town was looking for Asian men on the roster. Now it's like every single agency is trying to push their a diverse talent pool into these shows, because every TV show out there, and there's a lot. I was reading all these articles about the new industry, the new Hollywood, because every streaming service is looking for new content, and I'm developing some contents with my producer friends and director friends. And that's the main thing I would say. If there's one absolute advice I would give to every Asian talent, is to don't just rely on going to auditions to get your next job. Take control. Create your own content, whether if it's improv comedy, or, you know, if you're a drama writer, or you want to produce, you're more of a producer, anything that you can do, find your thing and get a good group of solid people to create and develop your own content. And that's like the best thing that you can do for your own career, because, and then that, you know, that works in conjunction because with, you know, your career with your agent going into those studio stuff, because it keeps your time, it keeps you occupied, so you're not sitting there waiting next to the phone all the time. But you are then now in charge of your own destiny. You know, you have your own career in your hands, and you're actively working on all of your on your own career. And for me, I need that control. Otherwise, I feel like completely out of control if my career is entirely dependent on other people giving me jobs. I believe that, you know, every Asian talent should. And there's a huge need for it right now. You know, every Netflix, Apple, you know, Amazon, they're all looking for new stories. If you've seen, like, you know, the new stuff that are on there, Tiger Tail, and all the other Asian American movies that are now, you know, being bought up by streaming services, there's a huge market for it. So this is a great time for us to be Asian, really. It really is. But you have to be proactive. You have to be on top of things, and you have to really, really, really want it.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I can tell you we get a lot of requests. We don't have enough Asian actors to even fulfill some of these spots, believe it or not, you know? So don't doubt, don't question it. It's like, this is something that you really want. You have to just go for it. I have to say that right now is the time this year, you know, is the year for Asian Americans. And it's not next year or wait until things are better. Do it now, because as of an actor, you always have to hone in your skills. It's an ongoing thing, you know, right now, because right now they are hungry for diversity. They're always looking for more different new stories, especially Asian Americans are Asian. So right now is the time, guys. We need you guys to step up and, Paul, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, is there any questions? I know I saw some questions here. Paul talked about speaking other languages. I guess, Paul, there's some questions.
Yeah.
Amanda?
Yeah, I can see here that Ted, did you want to ask the question, Ted?
Yeah, Paul, thank you for your insights today. It does seem like an advantage to have other languages, but do you have to be fluent in that? For example, there's ways you can learn new languages, like through Rosetta Stone or something, but you won't get fluent within a short period of time. Is that a worthwhile endeavor, or you rather, what would you suggest about that?
Okay, so there are different levels of knowing a language. If you're not fluent in a language, obviously you won't. There's fluent, and then there's also fluent without an accent. So here's how it breaks down in terms of the market. If you want to do, let's say for me, like sometimes I do Cantonese voiceover commercials. Like I've done it for Toyota, for like Verizon, and McDonald's, and I do them in Cantonese for the American Cantonese market. In order for you to do those commercials, you have to be 100% fluent with the correct accent. And so I actually can't even do the Mandarin stuff because my Mandarin has a Hong Kong accent. I don't have a Taiwanese accent or a mainland accent to do the American Asian market commercials. But I do a lot of Mandarin work because I do speak it fluently. So I do Mandarin work for like ADR work, which is voiceover stuff for feature films, TV, any of those stuff. Like I've done it for Black Panther, Crazy Rich Asians, all of those big giant movies. So in those sense, you do need to be fluent. Otherwise, because you're improvising the entire time. It's 8 hours sitting in a room making up dialogue. So you really can't do that without being fluent. But then if you're going down the level, which is where most of you are getting like auditions for shows and things like that, for the most part, yeah. For me personally, yes, of course, I want everyone to be, you should be fluent. You shouldn't do it without being fluent. But the truth of the matter is, production will hire you because you look Asian and you can speak it. So if you're talking about a part where they have a couple of lines in another Asian language, generally speaking, because if you're Asian, you should be able to at least deliver a few lines in like the main Chinese, Japanese, Korean, so that it's convincing enough for you to do an audition where you may have, it's mostly in English, but there may be a couple of lines in those other languages. Like that's definitely worthwhile investment, and it doesn't hurt you to be able to have semi, conversational skills in those languages, because those auditions do come up a lot. And so being able to have some fundamentals in Japanese, in Korean, in Chinese, and a few other, Asian languages won't hurt your career for sure. I mean, is it a must? No, but it opens up a new market for you, and it also gives you a little bit more authenticity and credibility when you go in where, with at least, I've studied it for at least a year or so, versus I've never studied it. I literally called my friend and go like, can you, give me a phonetic translation? And believe me, I've helped some friends do those things before. It bothers me a lot, but that's the reality of it, though, you know, because productions don't really care sometimes. Like because the truth is, if they don't like it, they will redub your voice afterwards. And I've done that in ADR sessions. Like I did that for Skyscraper, and literally a friend of mine, someone asked me if they could translate this for me, and do a phonetic translation of the audition that they were doing. It's an on-camera audition for the film, and I was like looking at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I'm going to be called into this session, and I'm going to have to read up your voice. And it's exactly what happened. I went into the session. It wasn't that friend who got it, but it was someone else who got it. And it was supposed to, like, the whole movie takes place in Hong Kong, but the thing is, that person wasn't even speaking Cantonese. He was speaking Mandarin, because the producers couldn't even figure out what language they were supposed to do that in. And then so finally they realized it in post-production, and so like I went in and redubbed, you know, that entire newscaster segment. You know, that's the reality of how it works here. So learn it as much as you can, do your best with it, and then the rest is just, some production cares, some production don't. You don't know which one do and which one don't. Some cares about the accent, some don't. And even when they care about the accent, you never know. Because I've seen movies where I saw the audition posting, and they're like, oh, authentic so and so only. But then I saw the release, and I'm like, those people aren't authentic. Like, I can hear the accent in them, but it's close enough for production. Because in the end, the director's gonna hire who they want to hire. So
and was that something that you went in
yeah.
last minute because you answered to your agent that got you that job, because it was a last minute like replacements or something?
No. For the the voiceover dubbing?
Yes. For the voiceover
No,
that you have.
that's just that's the ADR work that I do. I get called into ADR session. It wasn't last minute. I just knew it was gonna come. I knew at the end, because they would, you know, we usually go in there and do all the ADR, the general walla, and all the other stuff to fill up the environment. But we sometimes replace actors' voices, because, you know, a long time ago, my very first one was Mummy 3, and like the guy was on there speaking near gibberish Chinese, and we're like, we couldn't understand him, so I replaced his voice. So it happens in post-production. It's just what happens is, when they do post-production, and let's say the scene takes place in China or whatever it is, then they will, you know, and so they will bring in a group of Chinese actors to do all the general, like, you know, the street vendors and all those people. And then while we're watching it, they'll generally they may ask us, oh, like, is that person's Chinese okay? And then if we're like, no, not really, we can't really understand them, then we would go ahead and just replace their voice right there. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I think we have room for one more question. Was it Felix or Tom? The awesome advice.
I kind of got disconnected, so I didn't know who came out first.
Okay. What do you mean who came out first? Yeah, well, you're on now, so if you want to actually ask.
Cool. Sorry, Felix. Hi, Paul. Thanks for coming on and helping us out with your information. On the topic of voiceover and sort of diversifying your career, I was wondering, how did you get started doing voiceover, voice-oriented work, and some maybe advice that you would give on getting started? I know, like, you know, some people do that whole, you know, pay thousands of dollars things to get a voice demo. And then I also know of some people that kind of jerry-rigged it and, you know, wrote their own commercials and kind of just did a voice demo. If you could speak a little bit on that.
So in terms of voiceover, in terms of doing your demo, the main thing with your demo is your demo has to sound like it's a real thing. It's a real commercial, real whatever animation projects that, you know, I spent thousands of dollars on my demo. And even though I actually have the ability to mix and do all that stuff, I did still spend that money because I wanted to make sure it sounds, you know, up to par. The thing is, your voiceover is a very small circle. It's much smaller than the on-camera circle because a small handful of people do the majority of the jobs. But the good thing about, and that's where the Asian American side things comes to our advantage right now, is that more and more productions are looking for Asian American like actors to play Asian American parts. And so there's the industry is not filled with a ton of Asian American talent. So a lot of these new talents are starting to, Asian Americans who may not have spent thousands of dollars on their demo, they can spend something a lot less, or they jerry-rig their own demo, can still get a job. But that's gonna be harder and harder to do. As the further along we go, the harder it is to do that, because simply because there's more and more people who are now experienced and they can produce a demo, or they have actual jobs that they've done that they put together that sounds so much better than what some people can do at home. But if you can make something sound like there are commercials that you would hear on the radio, then by all means, you don't have to spend $1,000 or more on your demo. You can definitely do it on your own. But it just depends on the quality that you can produce yourself. It's kind of like, do you hire your friend to do your headshot? I mean, if your friend is like a professional headshot photographer, sure. But if your friend is like an amateur and the photos just don't look as good, then you might want to reconsider that. You know, but the thing is, if casting is desperate for you exactly because you fit a very specific category, then, you know, even though your headshot isn't the greatest, they're still going to hire you because they need you. But are you going to be competitive in the general market? Probably not. So that's kind of what it is, you know, just like anything else. And I mean, I would really highly recommend also for voiceover to go get training. Like I started that in the same kind of thing, like, oh, I can do voiceover. Because I started with the language stuff, and that's how I got in. But the thing is, jumping from the language stuff to try to get to regular, like mainstream stuff, it's so hard. And you have to be well trained, because these people who do voiceover are so good and so talented. So I would say, you know, that's what it would be for voiceover.
Thank you. Thanks. That helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we have just one last question from Felix Fu. Felix, if you're on, let's time you on and you can probably ask.
Hi, Kim. Hi, Amanda. Thank you, Paul, for giving us the great advices. My question is, it's kind of a big one. I'm sure it's something that we all kind of struggle with and have no one to really talk to about. Is that how do you feel about the work prospects for Asian actors after this coronavirus scare has passed? Maybe has, you know, left a bad taste for for everybody else. The Asian people are kind of like gets bad name for possibly having this virus first. So just want to get your opinion on that, please.
I think the general public is super forgetful. They're going to be moving on to some other villain and some other thing very soon. You know, once this is all over, it's just, I mean, would it have some immediate impact? Maybe. But I mean, right now, everyone's impacted. I mean, productions, nobody knows what's going to happen. So, you know, I don't know what exactly is going to even happen this summer in terms of, you know, how productions are going to even start back up. I literally was supposed to be on set shooting a movie, right, like in the middle. Yeah, it was supposed to start in the middle of this month. But now I'm like, I don't know. I haven't heard from production at all. Who knows? Because I mean, I wouldn't worry about it, like, you know, in terms of like, oh, there might be some backlash or whatever towards Asians in production, because I don't think, I think there's, you know, there's a vocal minority that are, you know, like, all like crazy and doing all that stuff, but for the vast majority of Americans, they're not like, oh, I can't watch any Asian actors anymore because of the coronavirus. Like, I just don't think that's a thing. I mean, that's my personal opinion. You know, I'm not an expert on all of this, but I don't think that's gonna really hurt your work opportunity in the long term. And, you know, I mean, I don't think so. Because a lot of the productions that are already lined up that they're looking to do, they're pretty much going to do those, and every single company is looking for diversity, because they're not because companies are productions are producing content not just for the US, they're producing it for an international audience, and a lot of those audience, you know, are in China too. So it's just one of those things where I really don't think it's a thing. I mean, maybe some specific, you know, China content that's related to, you know, Wuhan might get postponed, but other than that, I mean, Mulan's lead actress is from Wuhan, so, and I, you know, I don't think Disney's gonna shy away from marketing Mulan at all when they are ready to market that movie. So I mean, if they can market Mulan, then I don't think anything else is gonna matter.
I 100% agree, Paul. Thank you so much. And Felix, that's a really great question, as well. I don't think anything's going to change. I think, right now, everyone is affected, not just only the Asian Americans. We just gotta have to just kind of believe and just be in control of what we are in control of, which is our skills. Get ready for have your materials ready so that when things go back to normalcy, things are gonna. I know it's gonna be busy. Everyone's gonna be eager to kind of get things back to track, because right now it's not like the economy is bad just because it's bad. It's just because we're all locked down. We're not able to go outside, so everyone's just eager to just kind of go back out there. And I'm really, that's why we want to be able to really take this time on providing all of our actors with these resources of how to obviously now know to self-tapes, because that's going to be extremely important moving forward, because a lot of things are going to change now. So being able to know how to always keep your marketing materials up to date is going to be key, very important. And obviously communication, because that's going to be also very important moving forward. So focus on the things that we're in control of, which is our skills, and be prepared when everything go back to normal, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, Paul, is there anything else we want to be able to wrap up before we wrap up for today? And then Amanda's going to be assisting us with the wrap up.
No, that's it. Thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure to talk to all of your whole agency. So it looks, you look like you have a really great roster here.
No, thank you for taking your time and really want to sharing in on your perspective, because I know you are like a triple threat. You can sing, you are a great actor. Not only that, you're a professor in making music, but you teach kids and you give back to the community. And also, I know that a lot of our Asian actors here can most definitely utilize a really great mentor as yourself, sharing all of your experience as well. And I know that a lot of our families that has kids that wants to basically enter into the market. Paul is also an acting coach and also a music coach, right? So right now, our agency, we do not have a kids division yet, but I know that it's just in a matter of time, because we want to be able to have the families to be supportive, because that's important. Asian families needs to be supportive of the kids and acting and dive in. So I know, Paul, you're bilingual as well, so we definitely wanted to introduce you to our talents and be able to know how they can reach out to you. Wow. So Amanda,
if you have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Paul, for joining us today again. I will be sending over some of his information if you have to you guys, so you guys can check him out on his social media page, and if you can reach out to him if you have any questions. We'll also be sending out a monologue link with all the playlists that I was telling you guys about earlier today, so you can pick monologues that you want to perform for yourself, and you can review your own performance. Our session for next week is actually going to be our very last session. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about how you can take all the information that we've talked about on these last 5 sessions regarding knowing your image, and then applying that to social media and understanding your personal brand, which is really, really important right now, because everybody's on their phone, everyone's at home. So many casting directors are always asking for your Instagram handle, so it's really important. So be sure to tune in next week. As always, I'll be sending a recap email tomorrow. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great weekend, and have a happy Mother's Day. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Unless anybody has anything else.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good weekend.